I lied to him. Well, perhaps not quite. A dissembling, a half-truth, an omission of detail, although in this matter it is not detail that was omitted, but rather scale. I despise it. What I did, that is. The difference between subterfuge and subtlety is a line often crossed, and with the crossing marks the long road to folly and fate. My brethren of the craft world would say that I was too understated, or that I said too much. We ever were a fractious, quarrelling society, and I suppose that was, at least in part, a contributing factor to our fall, to the fall. He is dangerous, and he may yet be the saviour of two races, his own and that of ours, the Eldari, but only if he is guided down the path. Half of his brothers fell, some through spite, others arrogance, and even one through unluck that could be considered malefic and fateful. He has already fallen once, the great Rebute Gilliman, the Primarch of humanity's 13th Legion, now a chapter. He is the Lord Regent of a crippled empire, the master of 1,000 crusading pinpricks amidst the black, the son of the anathema, our last hope, lest we abandon all rational thought and lend ourselves, our lives, and our fates to a god of our own dead. At least in the Monkey's primitive tongue, the deception was simple. Their language, their syntax and vocabulary are not made for subtlety. Direct, indeed it has to be. Their short lives demand imminent connection and communication. Not for them are the higher mysteries. Even those with the mind gift suffer from their race's lack of acuteness. Where we swim, they stomp. Where we wander round the shadowed glades, they burn down a path through the trees, and attract the attention of greater predators while they do so. He is far keener, however, long-lived, with a mind as sharp as a Farseer's, a cunning logic processor packed into humanity's greatest biological containment. Combined with the stuff of the Imperium, his soul touches the warp more than he understands. And that is for the best. It is for the same reason why I lied to him, why I could lie to him. He asked me earlier of his father, or what is left of his father. God, spirit, soul, belief, faith, anathema. He is questioning his own existence, his own beliefs, his own meaning in a universe with potential for the divine. It is natural, coming from a time when the cold imperial truth was hammered into his belief structures. Now he is adrift, desperately searching for that lifeline of logic, a semblance of normality, an arrangement of structure in this time of madness. I could not give him the truth. I told him of what we Farseers see when we look upon humanity's homeworld, that we can see the light of their great beacon, the roaring fire, the flame that burns through the Imperium, the blazing, shrieking souls that are consumed in its process, a light that we cannot pierce with our visions, that the heart of the inferno is hidden from our sight in its ferocity, that echoing out from that empiric floodlight is only pain and suffering, a sun where there should be none, that burns away the skeins of fate with every attempt at exploration, an aegis against destiny's pull. For I could not reveal my fears to him. Dare I have said more? Dare I have told him of the horrific truth? No. He needs to be guided along as he should. To tell him all of that which I know would overwhelm him, threaten his very being, and throw the fate of the galaxy in jeopardy. For he is, at the end of the day, a warlord. He fights against the dark, against chaos and their horrific pantheon. But what if he believed? What if he truly believed in the horrors that his cruel ecclesiarchy propagate to the trillions? What if he began to believe the whispers of faith surrounding him, to hear the truth of his father? Could he begin an apotheosis? And if he did, would he remain a bright star, or transform into a dark king? Better he never knows the truth. The inferno of horror and pyre of sacrifice that guides his armies through the stars. The agony of humanity's fractured, twisted mind screaming out noiselessly and wordlessly. 10,000 years of failure and guilt and madness and anguish reflected and amplified by a machine thrown like a kaleidoscope of emotional insanity. A half-soul, swollen, bloated and gutted on the faith and prayers of a galaxy of its subjects. The knowledge of becoming that which it feared the most in order to escape an even more hideous fate. Trapped, constricted and helpless, both a conduit and a prisoner, screaming out among the black. They call it holy. They have no idea. He is a mountain, a world, a galaxy in the Imperium, a force of nature, a glass fortress, capable of destroying half of the Milky Way, and yet ready to fracture into 1 billion shards at the wrong touch. All of this I can hear, feel, and see. Not directly, never directly, but as one reads the ripples among water, so too can I infer them from their presence in the Imperium. He cannot know everything. He must not know everything. For he is still a child, a general, a commander, a savior of 1,000,000 worlds, with armadas and armies at his beck and call. But he is still a child of his father. He always will be. And what child could bear to know the truth of his father's agony? In the grim darkness of the 41st millennium, there is no sanctuary. The Imperium of mankind is on its knees. Constant driving war plagues the stars. Xenos raiders intent on scavenging helpless souls to inflict suffering and torment unending to increase their decadent vampiric lifespans. Ancient horrors stir beneath the soils. Endless legions of soulless metal marching forth to cleanse the galaxy of all life and end organic sentience once and for all. Biological ships hover in the void between stars, a great intelligence driving teeth, claws, and chitin to consume worlds, systems, and sectors to sate its endless hunger. But most of all, humanity itself. For we serve darker masters. For each and every penitent, pious individual, humanity produces 1,000,000 weak souls. Pride, envy, impatience, and plotting, we fuel the great sentiences in the other universe. The immaterium, the warp, the sea of souls, our every thought a litany to the other side, each deed a catechism of emotion that pours into that place, until our creations subjugate us. The foul abominations of that place have twisted the minds of our best and brightest, and our lowest and foulest. Humanity fights itself more than it fights any other. Heretics in the deepest depths of hive cities, fallen angels that spread corruption and doubt everywhere they go, sorcerers whose selfish designs subjugate entire worlds to their whims. War is everywhere. But in darkness, a light burns all the brighter. Our Emperor, our guiding light, sits atop the golden throne and burns through the warp. The pillar of pure radiance emanates throughout the galaxy on this side of the Great Rift, guiding our fleets, flotillas, and armadas through the stars. By his grace is the warp becalmed. By his will do the armies of the Imperium attend the million war fronts throughout the galaxy. From the moment the Emperor took his permanent place on the throne, it has burned from holy terror, and only once has it failed. Only once did the Astronomican go out. One moment of weakness, a pall in the Aegis. Our enemies failed to keep it out, and now it burns stronger and hotter than it has ever been. It bathes worlds in its light and immolates the demon and the heretic. It is our saving grace, our Lord and Master. It is our God Emperor's gift to an unworthy galaxy. May the lives of the damned be fuel for his fire. From this moment until the day his radiance once more touches all corners of this galaxy, or until chaos consumes us all. Welcome one and all. I am Azazel, and for better or worse, you have stumbled your way onto my video detailing the Astronomican in Warhammer 40k. This follows the previous Navigator's video on my channel, so do please watch that if you haven't already. And for those of you who watched my video on the Tau and declared that it was slander of the highest order, do not worry. I was building a Ghost Keel battlesuit the other day and accidentally sliced open my entire thumb, so the greater good got its revenge on me. Anyway, what follows is an introduction to the Astronomican. In my own words, for those of you who are looking for more of an explanation to this universe. If you're an experienced veteran of the hobby and lore, then don't be surprised if you already know all I have to introduce here. Simply listen along while you paint your models, and I hope you enjoy it. Be prepared now. Steel your hearts and gird your minds as we enter the most horrific place imaginable. The place where hope goes to die, and where thirsting gods rack the souls of billions, while directing madness on the stage of our galaxy as easily as puppeteers pull on strings. Welcome to the 41st millennium. Now, I did want to dive straight in with some interesting bits, some flowery details, and over-dramatized soliloquies. However, we'll have to get some basic information out of the way first, to put things in perspective as it is. Why? Because the Golden Throne and the Astronomican are so intertwined, many people get things a little muddled up. I say this without judgment because it is the same for me. The occasional mind slip is understandable. So for both my benefit and yours, let's give a glancing once over all the essential details. And if I make a mistake, do forgive me. I am not a lore master, simply someone who wishes to create entertainment for you, and offer simple support to those newcomers to our wonderful hobby. So, as you may have ascertained or are already aware of, the Astronomican is an enormous signal of psychic light that spreads through the galaxy from Terra itself. It is this light, so blindingly visible within the warp, that navigators use to steer themselves through the Imperium. With a turbulent, ever-changing warp, the Astronomican offers the lifeline of surety. It enables a form of psychic triangulation within that alien universe. But it is not simply a ball of light. As with everything in 40k, it is layers of needless complication on top of religious dogma and staunch traditionalism. The Astronomican is a chamber within Terra, under the oversight of the Adeptus Astronomica. This is where the warp beacon forms. Now, here is where people, and I include my past self among them, get confused. For within this chamber sit the Chosen, 10,000 trained and dedicated psychers that offer their skills, souls, and lives to create the beacon of light known as the Astronomican. This key detail is often confused with the Golden Throne's requirement of 1,000 or more psychers every single day. Both machines require psychers to function. However, the Golden Throne requires 1,000 psykers daily, if not more. Those psykers serving the chorus of the Astronomican, the Chosen, are somewhat different. So let's take a look at them. The Chosen of the Astronomican choir begin just as many other psykers fulfilling their roles within the Imperium. The Black Ships, staffed with a mentally fortified crew, Sisters of Battle, and various forms of psychic blanks, such as the Sisters of Silence, roam the stars from world to world, seeking psychic talent within populations. It is the job of these ships to, promote compulsory volunteership for those with empirically crucial abilities. Or find a psyker, bag 'em and tag 'em. With their holds bursting with psychically enabled individuals, but dampened with technologies and the presence of those with the pariah gene, the one that hinders warp powers, they return to Terra to offload their volunteers. The offloaded cargo will be separated into categories, based upon their varying levels of power, control, and other variables. Some will be inducted into the Astra Telepathica as astropaths to send messages through the stars. Others will be selected for soul-obliteratingly agonizing sacrifice before the Golden Throne to be consumed as a power source, and others enter the Adeptus Astronomica. These psykers are inducted immediately into an intensive program focusing on theology, philosophy, and psychic skill. Their entire personalities are forged into the sole purpose of serving the Emperor of mankind, and in a willing manner. Those who excel in their abilities and understanding of the war will achieve the rank of Chosen. Those who fail continue to work within the Adeptus, coaching and encouraging new recruits in order to facilitate the success of newer generations. The rank of Chosen is one heavily respected. They are lauded and revered to have achieved such a state of self and acceptance within the universe. Yet, it is only when they are called upon to serve does their true work begin. For it is the sole purpose of each Chosen to become one with the choir of the Astronomican, and there are only 10,000 spots available. However, each Chosen within the choir withers away with their duties. Their ceaseless creation and maintenance of the Astronomican burns away their minds, bodies, and souls over the duration of a few months, give or take depending upon the individuals in question, of course. Strapped into metal thrones, fixed into place with iron collars, and bearing psi-resonant tiaras, slowly burning themselves into dross, each second an eternal agony, until that final, blissful end. So it is that as each member of the choir falls, a new Chosen must take their place in the most hellish a cappella group in the galaxy. You never saw that one on Glee, did you? So yes, this consumption of psykers is very different to the Golden Throne. An awful, awful fate. Yet compared to those psykers who are sacrificed to the Golden Throne, surprisingly sustainable. Someone more mathematically gifted than myself estimated that the average rate was a few hundred of the Chosen per day, as opposed to the 1,000 that are sacrificed upon the Golden Throne. Although I can't find the original post, so do take that calculation with a pinch of salt and maybe blame it on my bad memory. But why is the Astronomican so important? But Azazel, I hear you cry. Warp jumps are still possible without the Astronomican. Ah, yes, my friend, you have a good point. However, if I ever travel from Edinburgh to London, I prefer taking a car. I could, of course, hop on my bike and cycle the distance, far slower, with many more brakes, and have bricks thrown at me every 10 yards attempting to force me down incorrect paths in order to avoid the danger. But I preferred the car. The same can be said for navigators. With the Astronomican, they can triangulate their positions, maintain a steady course, identify the quickest or most stable warp routes. Without the Astronomican, they are in the wild dark, in an ocean without light, performing little bunny hops while they try to navigate interstellar distances. Lost, struggling, and facing the threat of being overwhelmed by the malefic forces the other side of the veil. So, yes, the Astronomican is essential for the survival of the Imperium, not just for its crusading armies, but for the entire economic system of trade that maintains this ravaged empire. Food from agri-worlds, mining facilities shipping their materials, weapons and technologies from tech worlds. Without uninterrupted supply chains, the Imperium fractures into a million worlds. Without the Astronomican, the Imperium is finished. The only instances of safe warp travel that I can think of off the top of my head would be the Tukulka engine, the Coral engine, and Mephiston, although those entries need to wait for another time as I still need to catch up on my Blood Angels lore. I know, shame on me. But let's discuss the creation of the Astronomican. Out of hell on Earth, through war and destruction on humanity's homeworld, came the Emperor. Rampant techno-barbarian warlords and armies of gene-twisted abominations were cut down piece by piece. Order took control of this planet from chaos and corruption. The master of mankind and his implacable armies freed us from the horrors of unfettered power in the hands of those with even fewer morals than himself. It cost millions of lives, centuries of warfare, and the noble sacrifice of almost every Thunder Warrior on Mount Ararat. Don't ask questions about that one, or the Inquisition will come a-knocking. But, always several steps ahead, this Alexander already knew that one world was not enough. He needed them all. One of his first projects upon Terra was the creation of the Astronomican. It would take time to build his armies, amass his fleets, and ensure a stable system that could support an outwards push beyond the solar system. Tech adepts from Mars and specialist psychers were brought in to form what would later become the Adeptus Astronomicum. But the creation wasn't just a building, not a specialized chamber built for purpose. It was something more. The location was something more. A place of power, of mystery, of intent and will. The Hollow Mountain had called people to it before. Mystics, seers, magicians and clerics. Outcasts, pilgrims, acolytes of the beyond, the shamans of old Earth, the insane and the blessed of humanity who could feel the other side of the veil thump, thump, thumping through their souls. Many had been drawn to this wellspring of eternity, this ley line. Homo sapiens, and our ancestors whose offspring would one day become humanity. They all came to embrace mysticism, explore their futures, and become one with this place, the Hollow Mountain. The Astronomican was built within the Hollow Mountain for a reason. It was always a font for the arcane. With meticulous esoteric calculations and metaphysical analysis, the Emperor made it something more. The Astronomican we all know today. In the early days, the Emperor himself could fuel the Astronomican. His power, raw and unfettered, could light a beacon approximately 70,000 light-years in diameter. And more than this, he could do so even when not on Terra itself. But the galaxy is large and full of dangers. Each outward expansion of the Great Crusade required him to expend more and more power to extend his psychic reach back to Terra and maintain this phenomenal psychic lighthouse. It was on Malcador's suggestion that a cadre of psychers be established to take over the unrelenting task of generating the psychic light of the Astronomican. Thus, the choir of the Astronomican began its ceaseless work. The Emperor would still focus the light, control it, and use his phenomenal powers to shape it. But the power source would entirely come from the choir. The Astronomican has failed twice in its history, and only once since the Emperor took his place on the Golden Throne of Terra. The first time was during the Siege of Terra at its very zenith. The palace is breached. Traitors roam the heart of the Imperium. Loyalist forces are blockaded beyond the Sol system, held at bay by darkness. The Emperor lies broken, bleeding, moments from true death. Horus stands upon the precipice of victory. Dark gods laugh over his shoulder as their greatest foe wheezes his dying breaths on the floor of the vengeful spirit. The Astronomican had lain silent for months, its choir distorted and twisted by the foul forces of chaos. A contingent of dark angels had retaken the Hollow Mountain. They fought a losing battle against the minions of Nurgle, their cousins, the Death Guard, as they defended the Hollow Mountain with their lives. Inside the Hollow Mountain huddled refugees, the detritus of war, fractions of families once whole, lives and meaning lost. Terror quivering through their bones at the insanity of a world without time where demons walked with few foibles. Brought here by none other than Sigismund, the greatest hero of that time. But most of all, there stood Euphrates Keeler, the saint, the believer, the disciple. One who could banish demons with nothing more than her faith. She had been tried and tested. Here she stood with the refugees, owners of nothing more save their own minds. And here they saved the Imperium. With faith. They reactivated the Astronomican, their stalwart belief, their determination in hope, and through the sacrifice of their souls, they relit the burning light of purity within the Hollow Mountain. The Death Guard fell in their droves, split asunder by the sudden light. The Loyalist forces outside the Sol system raced to Terra with all the speed that they could muster. And most vitally, the Emperor managed to strike back. But those individual moments deserve their own attention, and their own videos. The second time that the Astronomican fell was in the 41st millennium, the opening of the Great Rift. Abaddon the Despoiler, right hand of Horus Lupercal, War Master of Chaos, broke the Cadian Gate and let insanity flood the galaxy. It flooded the Materium with the energies of the warp in a great swathe across the middle of the Milky Way galaxy, subsumed worlds into the Empyrean, and unleashed psychic effects across 1,000,000 worlds. On Terra, the Astronomican, unbroken for 10,000 years, blinked out of existence. The losses were incalculable. Navigators lost control of their warp jumps, and entire fleets were consumed. Madness took a hold of the populations of worlds as they felt the psychic disturbances across the galaxy. Far-flung worlds assumed that the Imperium had fallen, the golden light of the Astronomican so synonymous with the Emperor that they believed they were once more alone in the galaxy. For 33 days there was darkness. Worlds across the galaxy fell through civil wars or consumed by demonic hordes. On Terra itself, Khorne's forces themselves attacked the palace once more. Madness reigned. Until there was a light once more. The Astronomican blazed forth from the homeworld of Terra as a symbol of hope among the stars, that in a universe of darkness there was still hope, that the Imperium endured. To date, we do not know why the Astronomican went out, nor why it re-emerged after 33 days. All we do know is that it survives. Even with the worst of the galaxy's horrors thrown at it, it is sustained. As we approach the end of this entry, there is one more piece to explore. Perhaps the most mysterious, for before the Great Rift, the Astronomican was a deadly thing indeed. It is part of another story, but Within the Eye of Terror, demon worlds burned before its mighty glare. In the book The Talon of Horus by Aaron Dembski-Bowden, we witness a psychic amalgamation of the Astronomican as its own being, as witnessed by Iskander Kaon. There, in placid splendor on my throne, was the ghost of a murdered god. The god's face was covered by a mask of shining gold, its features wrenched into a rictus of crying torment. The expression, eyes open, mouth wide, even the parted teeth showing in detailed gold, was a man's death scream, immortalized in holy metal. Bladed sunrays flared from the edges of a metal face, forming a crest of golden knives. The rest of his manifestation existed in contrast to the dark ostentation of his sacred helm. He was thin, cadaverously so, and wearing a plain toga of imperial white. His skin didn't commit to paleness or duskiness. It seemed a caramel blend of both, perhaps born from genetics, perhaps stained by the light of a natural sun. I'd seen carvings of him on cave walls, scrawled by primitive men and women awaiting the coming of the Emperor, the master of mankind, in his skeletal, ritual form as the sun god, the solar priest. Men of blood and bone, sailing where fire and madness meet. I am what remains of the song of salvation. The spirit was breathing, which was a rare and false gesture of life among incarnated creatures. Within each inhalation I heard the roar of faraway fire. Every exhalation resonated with the muted sounds of distant screams. The solar priest linked his thin fingers in his lap. Once you were his will, rendered in iron and flesh, sent forth to bring the galaxy to heel. I am his will rendered in silent light, sent forth to guide a billion vessels home. I am what remains of the Emperor, now that his body is dead and his mind is dying. It is a death that may take an eternity, but it will come. And then I will fall silent with his final thought. I could feel the ache suffered by the mutants and human crew now. The solar priest's nearness made my sinuses throb. I could feel my nose beginning to bleed. You are the Astronomican. The golden mask tilted in a nod. Moments pass, conversations continue, and the manifestation of the Astronomican is struck down by a bolt in the chest. Its veins darken, the metal face begins to tarnish and corrode in moments. You are the death of empires. You will be the end of the Imperium. Is this what you wanted for yourselves when you first looked up to the night sky as children on your home worlds? There is more, of course. This herald was a warning. The souls of the dying and damned choir, reinforced with the Emperor's will, taking on a mind of its own as it ravaged the fireside. It came as the voice, not the warlord. It came with wisdom and mercy, not fire and fury. It was a warning and a promise. If chaos pushed the Imperium would push back. And with that said, I do believe that I have covered the basics of the Astronomican for new players. Side notes, firstly, I highly recommend the Black Legion books by Aaron Dembski-Bowden. Please do explore those when you have a chance if you haven't done so already. They are top goddamn notch. Secondly, do please leave a like or a comment, it means a huge deal for me and the channel. Thirdly, I do have a giveaway coming up once I reach 1,000 subscribers, so stay tuned for that Warhammer 40k themed gift and one of you will be able to receive that completely free of charge. It is just a little something to show my gratitude for people sticking with my channel. Fourthly, on social media platforms, I am Azazel's Secrets rather than Chronicles of Azazel due to character limits. So do grab me on, I don't know, Threads, and I'll follow you back. Now, do enjoy your day or night, and I hope you've indulged in some escapism from reality. For that's why we're here, isn't it? Until next time.